Hey there, Vanessa here with The Soul Restored, where I help bring sanity back to every aspect of your life. Today's video is how all of us women unknowingly are enabling our husbands to do jack or not do jack squat. So for several months, Darren and I have been struggling. Things were declining and we were getting more and more frustrated with each other. He was getting super frustrated with me when I wasn't doing certain things like staying on top of the dishes or the house or making dinners every night. And of course, I was getting super annoyed with him, thinking, I'm pregnant, I'm tired, I'm so good at staying consistent at keeping the house clean and preparing regular meals. Don't complain when I'm not able to. So we both were valid in our own points, but things were going downhill. We weren't communicating or talking about our feelings and being super frustrated with each other. So for months now, I have been praying, as I often do, to be the wife he needs me to be. And for months I had been praying about it and been working on different things. We had been working in therapy to understand both of our needs and to better understand what we needed to stop doing. For instance, when he would get mad at me for not preparing a meal, I would lash out like a freaking crazy person and basically berate him and belittle him about who he was and how he wasn't doing enough, and how dare he talk to me about not making dinner when I need him to do X, Y, and Z. Well, we were both valid in our own ways, but that's definitely not the best way to handle it. And it's not okay for him to come to me and, basically insult my person when I don't make a meal. Okay, maybe I'm being dramatic, but for real, we need to talk about these things and figure out where all of these feelings actually stem from. So after going to therapy for a couple of months, now, as you know, or if you don't know, we've gone to therapy for years and years and years, but we've had a couple of years where we haven't gone to therapy, and we decided it's time for a little refresher course to go back and get some new tools and remember where we want to be with each other. So we started going back to counseling, and we were recognizing these different things that we needed to improve upon personally so that we could be better for each other, and we were understanding each other's needs more. And I continued to pray to be the wife that he needed me to be, and I didn't know what that meant. But after a couple of months, as we are nearing the birth of my son, my fourth kid, I finally received my answer, and it was a brutal one. I learned that I needed to stop being controlling. Now, I didn't know what the heck that meant, because I like control, folks. And I like keeping a clean house and having things just so, and everything is regimented, and I'm pretty much a drill sergeant with some fabulous hair. For real, like I have a plan for everything. I've got everything organized and written down. I'm like that. I'm just very regimented. So as I was trying to understand what this meant and kind of the level of control that I needed to let go of, I realized that my very control over making sure that there was always a meal, making sure that the house was always clean, making sure that there was nothing left for my husband to help with, was actually the caveat to my resenting him, because I was actually enabling him to not do anything. I was doing everything, so there was no room for him to help. There was no room for him to fill in, because I had filled every need. And then when it came to myself, I didn't want to ask for help, because I thought that that would diminish my awesomeness and would take away from all of the hard work that I was putting in. That if I needed help, or if I asked him to do something, that somehow that was a reflection on me in a negative way. So as I received this answer and was praying more to understand, how I was going to stop having control and how that was going to actually help things and what that needed to look like, I went to therapy as well. And I realized that I needed to let go of the things that were hardest for me. Things that took up the most emotional space, and things that I was too tired to do physically because I was in my third trimester for part of the time and nearing the end here, as I realized I needed these boundaries. And I realized the two things that were most difficult for me were keeping on top of the house and making dinner every night. That's a big deal, folks. Obviously, there's so much more that I do. The finances, grocery shopping, errands, kids' homework, all of these different things. And he helps here and there, but it wasn't consistent because I didn't allow for it to be consistent. I was doing 99% of the work, and that's an exaggeration, but I did a huge portion of the work or the responsibilities that needed to be done in our home and for our family. And so I wasn't allowing for him to come in and relieve me, help me, and fulfill his responsibility as a father and a husband. So I let go of those two things, which was like earth-shattering and so super painful. And for any of you that are type A like me, or freaking controlling, or whatever the name is that you want to give it, it is super hard to not be going a million miles a minute and to not be constantly working on the next project and checking off the next item on your list. And so to be able to sit back and let my house just go to ruins and not have this meal prepared for my husband so that he can come home to something and have a, gorgeous wife and beautiful home and fulfilling meal was painful. It was heavy. It was so hard for me to let go of the control of doing all of those things that it took months for me to learn that that's what I needed to do. It took months for me to be ready for that answer and to be able to apply it. And it took months of time for me to get tired enough and swollen enough right before baby came for me to be willing to let go. But something awesome happened. This is where the good stuff comes, guys. 2 weeks before baby came, I had this come to Jesus meeting with Darren. I realized I had my answer. I realized what I needed to do. I realized that to be the woman he needed me to be, I needed to allow him to be the best version of himself. And the only way that I could do that is by allowing him to show up, to use his talents and strengths. I needed to allow him to be the man that he wants to be and rescue me, even if that's rescuing me from housework and from meal prep. A man needs to be needed. He needs to fight for me, fight for our family. And if I'm not allowing him to do that, not only is there a part of him missing, but there is literally a wedge being driven between us because we are not understanding each other's core desires and not allowing each other to meet our needs. If we do not ask for help, if we do not depend on the other person, we will not have the closeness and connection that we both need and strive for. So I told Darren, hey, look, I don't know how long I need to do this for. I don't know how it's going to look. I just know it's going to be super messy, but like actually messy, but emotionally messy, but God told me that I needed to stop cleaning the house right now, and I needed to stop making you dinners and just barely scrape by and throw things on the table for the kids. And it was hard for him, but because he's awesome, he totally accepted it. So for those 2 weeks prior to baby, he made his own meals. He cleaned up after himself. He made food for the whole family. He cleaned up the entire house. And he did the things that we needed to prepare for the baby. The baby came, and he was awesome in the delivery. And he was awesome after. And now we're just over 2 months postpartum, and Darren has been awesome ever since, because he realizes that I'm going to allow him to be the man that he can be, that he is. I'm going to ask for him to be that man. And he is gratefully wanting to step up to be that man for me and for his family. I am not a bad person if I ask for help, if I can't stay on top of the house, if I don't want to stay on top of the house, if I don't want to cook some nights. And Darren realizes that human part of me is way more relatable and way more lovable than the Nazi that has to have things perfect, that won't allow him to be his best self. Since doing this and letting this beautiful disaster happen, we have become closer. We've had awesome conversations. We have been more connected emotionally, and it has just been exactly what we needed. I am now being the woman that he needs, which sounds crazy. We all think that we need to do more to be the woman our husband needs. But really, I needed to do less and allow him to do more. I'm super grateful for this experience. I hope that you can learn from me and realize you need to let some things go. Be ready for the mess, be prepared for the fight, and know that at the end of this tunnel, there is something beautiful to be had, that you can have more connection together, that you can share responsibilities, that all the burden doesn't need to be on your back, that it is a wonderful thing to allow your husband to take some of that, and he will thank you for it. So be willing to let go of control, be vulnerable and ask for help, and let him step up and be the man that he was meant to be. Another wonderful consequence of allowing God to intervene and accepting his timing was that Darren was able to take care of the other girls for 2 weeks while I just sat with my baby boy and nursed him and slept and took care of myself. It was so amazing. More than any of my other kids, I was able to relax, which is something that's not even in my vocabulary, and it's like shameful to admit. No, I'm just kidding, but it's hard to relax for me. It's just not a natural thing. I don't like to relax, but I needed to, and it was awesome to be able to just sit and be and nurture my little baby boy. And I couldn't have done that if I fought against the prompting that I had and wasn't willing to let go of control. It is my prayer that you too will be able to relinquish control and allow your husband to step up and be the man that you need him to be and that he wants to be for you and your family. Thank you for watching. I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. No. Thank you for watching. If you liked any part of this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you ring that little bell, just tap it. Just tap the bell. Like, you can't really ring it, but if you touch the bell with your mouse, then you'll know every single time I post something, because you'll get notified. So hit the bell and check out my other videos, because they're freaking awesome and they'll change your life.